Alright everybody, so today I'll be talking about the three basic components of food: carbohydrates, liquids, and proteins. So carbohydrates. There are two basic types of carbohydrates, which are simple sugars and complex carbohydrates. Examples of simple sugars include glucose, sucrose, fructose, and many others. And they contain 6 carbon atoms, 12 hydrogen atoms, and 6 oxygen atoms. Complex carbohydrates include starches and cellulose, and they are made of long chains of sugars. Simple sugar. All carbohydrates are made up of units of sugar, which are also called saccharide units. Carbohydrates that contain only one sugar unit are called monosaccharides, hence the mono, which means one. Glucose, so on the picture by the right, it gives the different bonds between oxygen and hydrogen to make glucose as well as fructose. You can check that out. And continued disaccharides have 2 sugar units bonded together. So with that in mind, the common table sugar is sucrose, which is pictured below, a disaccharide that consists of a glucose unit bonded to a fructose unit. So that's the bond between the two with an oxygen. Complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates are polymers of the simple sugars. In other words, the complex carbohydrates are long chains of simple sugar units bonded together. For this reason, these complex carbohydrates are often referred to as polysaccharides, which means many. Poly means many. Starch, located below, is a polymer of the monosaccharide glucose. And starches and cellulose are complex carbohydrates used by plants for energy storage and structural integrity. Glycogen is another polymer of glucose and is the polysaccharide used by animals to store energy. Both starch and glycogen are polymers of glucose. Starch is a long straight chain of glucose units, whereas glycogen is a branch chain of glucose units. Move on to proteins. Proteins are polymers of amino acids. Amino acids are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, and some may also have sulfur. Amino acids all have the general structure. The R in the diagram represents a functional group that varies depending on the specific amino acid in question. Proteins are essential to all life. Yes, all. When 2 amino acids bond together, water is released as the carboxy end of one amino acid bonds to the amine end of the adjacent one, forming a peptide bond as illustrated at the left. Because water is lost, the process is called condensation synthesis or condensation polymerization. When many amino acids bond together to create long chairs, the structure is called a protein. It's also called a polypeptide because it contains many peptide bonds. And as the arrow suggests, the green and the black are called peptide bonds. Proteins are large molecules that may consist of hundreds or even thousands of amino acids. While there are hundreds of thousands of different proteins that exist in nature, they are also made up of different combinations of amino acids. Now we move on to fats or lipids. Fats are a subgroup of compounds known as lipids that are found in the body and have the general property of being hydrophobic, meaning they are insoluble in water. Other lipids include waxes and steroids such as cholesterol. Fats are different because they are polymers of repeating units. Proteins and carbohydrates are polymers of repeating units. Fats are also known as triglycerides because the molecule is made from the combination of one molecule of glycerol with 3 fatty acids. So as you look at the picture below, the glycerol on the left plus the fatty acids give you the triglyceride, and the R is a long chain of carbon and hydrogen. And the type of fatty acid in the molecule determines the type of fat also. Saturated fats, monounsaturated fats, and polyunsaturated fats. Saturated fats are all single bonds in the carbon chain, and they're solids at room temperature. Monounsaturated fats is one double bond in the carbon chain, the remainder is single, and the liquids are at room temperature. Polyunsaturated fats are 2 or more double bonds in the carbon chain and liquids at room temperature as well. Okay, so that's it for this session. And for the next lesson, I'll be focusing on food preservation and processing methods. All right.